Originally a shortstop, but after making 102 errors in his last 2 seasons in the minors, he was moved to the outfield. Starting in 1990, Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls never had a 3-game losing streak for 8 years. That's your ESPN Pensacola Ridiculous Stats. I'm JP.
This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, Sports Call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
Welcome into Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson. On this Monday afternoon, we hope everyone's doing well, staying safe, and of course, washing your hands, practicing social distancing. Of course, everything coming out. Listen, I know it's a tough time right now for some people, tougher on others. But once again, I want to send a shout out to our first responders and our healthcare workers right now. I know they're all working tirelessly in a time like this. It's tough. This is not easy for anybody, but for those people right there, we want to send a definite shout-out to them. But, Coach, first things first, before we get into this, we got plenty to talk about today after this weekend. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well, and I second your response to the first responders. It's just amazing what they're doing, how they're doing it.
Absolutely, yeah. I know it's awesome right now to see people coming together. I know it's not the ideal time, but like we said, look, we're gonna get through this together, and we're gonna get back to other things like sports. More importantly, we got to get people well right now. But Coach, I want to start off today. We have so much to talk about. Look, I know it's a little bit different here because this is something that I never would have imagined in my lifetime that we'd be talking about this. But the NFL coming out, and this is of course on Pro Football Talk. Could an isolated coronavirus facility be the only way for the NFL to play in 2020? Now, that's being said that if we don't get through this in time for football season and everything else. They say an idea that was floated to a GM earlier last week was mentioned Sunday. The NFL takes to all teams a location free from coronavirus, tests everyone on the way in, and then sequesters the entire league for the full duration of the season. Now, when you look at this, one possibility would be find a place literally in the middle of nowhere and build enough fields to play the various games on a given Sunday and Saturday if college football doesn't happen, and enough rooms to house the players, coaches, trainers, and broadcasters for 17 weeks of football and 4 weeks of the postseason. Coach, I mean, when you're talking about this it seems crazy, but is this an idea that could possibly happen? Do you see this? I mean, is there a way to make this happen?
There may be a way to make it happen, but I don't see it being in one location. There are other facilities or venues around the country that they could isolate the participants that would be in the building, spectators and participants. And I would imagine they could do that. It would be difficult, and it would not be something that the public would want, but it may be necessary if they're going to get any football whatsoever. I think it would be very difficult for colleges to do that because so much is based on the traditional bans and participation from the students and so on. But for the NFL, I think they could do it and just have television. Now, television might have a reduced package for them, but it would still be something that would be very much viewed, and it would be appreciated, by the public. So I think it would be a possibility. It's hard to think about, and I don't think that we're near that stage right now. I think it's all rumor and sensationalism by some people. But let's face it. Unfortunately, it could happen, and if that being the case, I think the NFL could handle it. It's an interesting thing that right now the CFL, which starts months earlier, 2 months earlier than the NFL, they go to camp in June or May, really. They're having to, I guess, word came out, postpone camps until further notice. And so that's going to be interesting as to how the CFL decides to handle this. Now, they could put their season off some, but it usually ends with the Grey Cup around our Thanksgiving time. And following that, after that, it's going to be too cold to play up there in most areas. But anyway, there's a lot of interesting things going on. There will be some very bright people who are accustomed to dealing with situations, this and more. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree, Coach, and that's it's going to be interesting, and I agree with the fact that you're saying we're too far away from that right now. There's a lot of things that can happen. I'm not saying that this is going to go away tomorrow. It's definitely not. We're weeks, maybe months away. Well, I mean, probably months away for sure when you look at this, just because it's not as easy as, hey, things are getting better. Let's put people back in groups, because then we're going to start this whole thing over again. And that brings me to my next story here, Coach. Kirk Herbstreit went on Friday and said he just doesn't understand how we're going to be able to play college football. Now, for a lot of people, they take a step back and kind of gasp a little bit. Even myself, like, okay, he said, I just don't see it happening. And basically, because anytime you're going to put a group back together and then it's going to be colder weather, things can happen again. Who knows? Because we don't know what this virus is going to do when the cold weather comes back. Luckily for us down here, we've got our summer weather already getting here, down here on the Gulf Coast. But, Coach, one thing, too, is Reese Davis came on today, actually, just a little bit ago, on First Take, and talked about that. He said, look, I'm far more optimistic and more hopeful than Kirk's quote at this point. I think it's a little bit premature at this juncture, while offering the caveat that there's so much unknown out there right now. Kirk's right based on everything I've read in terms of medical experts, in terms of facts. I'm hopeful and optimistic that so many people working on this, that we're going to have some kind of treatment, some type of break over the next several weeks that will make it far more feasible to have football. At this point, I'm far more optimistic. Might there be adjustments to the schedule? Sure. Might things change a little bit in terms of how the business is conducted? Sure. But he believes it's going to go on, and it just may be a little bit different. Coach, when you look at that, that's kind of the way I feel on this too. Now, we have no idea. This is all speculation. But for Kirk Herbstreit to say he doesn't understand or see how we could even go on this year, whether it's college football or NFL football, Coach, my question to you is, you can comment on that. Is that premature? Which I get it. He's trying to be a realist in all this, and it's tough for some people. People are taking this different. We have to remember this. Nobody's truly gone through this. I mean, there's very few people in the world. You talk about the Spanish flu. That was over 100 years ago. So this is different. But Coach, what are your thoughts on these comments?
I think it's ridiculous for Kirk Herbstreit to make that statement. First, it's premature, vastly premature. And then secondly, why would you say anything that would be a downer to so many people? Think of the people that would uh, really have a problem with no football played this year. And that would be in addition to all of the shut-in problems and the other things that they would have to worry about, jobs and so on. And then you pile that on top. It's not good. It's not good for our country. It's not good for anybody to say anything like that. Let's stay positive. If we do what people have advised, and we handle this in the way that we can, I suggest to you that I think there are too many bright people and too much capability within this country that we'll have a way to mitigate the virus at some point to the extent that we can have these events. So anyway, I think it was bad on Kirk's part to say that. I really don't like that at all.
Yeah, I agree, Coach. I think it's to say something like that almost causes panic for a lot of people, and that's the last thing we need right now. I understand his thought process and all this, but sometimes less is more, with saying things. You don't have to say certain things like that. And I think it was good for Reese Davis to come on there and say, well, I think that's a bit premature. He handled it just professionally, and that's what he is, of course, but this is a guy that's close to Kirk Herbstreit, and I agree. I think things are going to change. We're not sure what's going to happen, but with what we're getting now, of course, reports coming out that our peak is supposed to reach anywhere probably from 2 weeks to a month from now. We're learning. Look, China's just starting to try to get back to normal here, and we're going to learn a lot from them on how they handle things as well. It's going to be interesting to see how all this happens. But, Coach, I want to stay with the NCAA here. NCAA has issued a warning for schools not following the coronavirus enacted recruiting dead period. Now, this was about 2 weeks ago, of course. The NCAA declared a mandatory recruiting dead period in response with the coronavirus shutdown, of course, trying to even things out for everybody. Now, they're barring unofficial visits, contacts, and evaluations while still permitting phone calls and text messages. But here's the thing. If you think it stopped everyone, Vice President of Enforcement John Duncan has said no. We've heard recruiting is still continuing here, and he said even in the times of global pandemic, he understands, listen, this is a business. These coaches are going out trying to get the best players, and this is a time where they would be recruiting heavily. This is almost like not their off season necessarily, but it is now pretty much. But these guys are trying to get the edge. That's, Coach, you've been there, you've done this, you've seen, you've been a part of this. You understand how tough it is when it's talk about recruiting. Even you playing at Florida, Coach, you understand that. But listen, when you look at this, Coach, does this surprise you that people are still trying to undercut the NCAA? And for the NCAA, well, do we think they're going to make a serious move here? I mean, because they could make an example out of somebody because it's so tough for teams. We saw Oklahoma, of course, complaining because the Big 12 was behind the curve on not allowing them to even talk to their players. And now they gave them 2 hours a week of that Zoom conference, which you can talk to your players. So 2 hours a week, that's all they got. But nonetheless, when you look at that, it's something for them. But, Coach, when you look at this, does it surprise you that these schools are kind of trying to cut underneath the curve here?
Yeah, I think to some extent the NCAA goes overboard, obviously, but there are rules that have to be followed, and there are rules that are broken by basketball, football. We all know that, and if we're honest, we admit it. If we're not honest, we try to cover it up somewhere. And they really have a tough time trying to stay up with it. The recruiting obviously is a big part of it. But I really feel that they should make some accommodation for the lack of travel and the lack of other contact. So whatever needs to be done, I think can be done with a little common sense, and it wouldn't have to be a major obstacle one way or the other.
Yeah, I agree, Coach. Look, for everybody, this is different here. We've said that before, and plenty of coaches have come out and talked about how tough it is because and look, for even some coaches, they said they're wondering, they're trying to make sure that their players, their psychological aspect is still good, because for a lot of these guys, remember, these are young kids and they have faced, well, really no adversity. Some of them have gone through tough lives at home, but none of them have been uncomfortable like they are now, much like all of us. But to go through the routine that they've been going through, and then automatically that's pulled away, and your body of life changes, and what you're doing changes, and you've got to get unique and stay in shape and all this other stuff, and you're used to coaches basically working you through all this stuff, and everything is just so much different for these guys. I do think the NCAA, I agree, they have overreacted on some things here. I think coaches need to be careful, but at the same time, we need to sit down and we need to meet and figure out how we're going to adjust to a period like this, because I just don't think you can just cut people off. I think it's so tough. These people need to be in touch with each other. Coach, I want to go to a guy who was, well, he was in college a few years ago, and a lot of people, local people around here know him. We've talked about him plenty. Coach, I know you think highly of this young man as well, Jared Stidham. Well, it come back in the news here. Stephon Gilmore, their star Pro Bowl defensive back. Because everybody, here's the question. Here's the thing, Coach. We know this. A lot of people are naysaying, I guess, the Patriots and what happened with Tom Brady. How can you let him go? Well, there's a lot more to it than just re-signing the guy. The coach thing, we know they have wide receiver problems. They have problems on that offensive line. They lost 2 of their linebackers. This is a different team, but you still have the same coach and you still have the same system, and that system has always worked. Well, on the other note here with Jarrett Stidham, he came in and Stephon Gilmore said, look, he worked hard. He got better as the year went on. He has a strong arm. He makes some tough throws. Definitely made it hard on me in practice each and every week going against whoever I was covering, making some great throws. It allowed me to get better in practice and to prepare for the games. Coach, look, I've heard a lot of people, including yourself, but a lot of people that like Jarrett Stidham. This is a guy they feel that is going to fit in Bill Belichick's system pretty well. When you look at Jarrett Stidham, Coach, I know you had mentioned it as well. This is a guy that went to Baylor and kind of made a mistake there and then went to Auburn, which Auburn never truly utilizes their quarterbacks the way they should anyway. This is a guy that doesn't get a lot of credit, but them getting him in the 4th round was almost a steal, and we may get our first chance to see him now. When I ask you this, I know I've said it a few times, but just seeing if anything's have changed, Coach, do you believe that Jarrett Stidham could be the guy here? And what I mean is the guy to fit in Bill Belichick's system. We've saw Jimmy Garoppolo's and even guys like Matt Castle have some success and Jacoby Brissett. Does Jarrett Stidham fit that bill? Is he the guy that maybe New England should lean on here this year?
Oh, I think so. I'm a big Stidham fan. I think he checks all the boxes. He's got the size. He's got the athletic ability. He's got a strong arm. He's got a quick release. He's got enough accuracy. I think his accuracy will improve under the guidance of that New England system. But I definitely think. Now, when he was at Baylor, a couple of things interesting around this story is not that he did anything wrong. It was they had all that sex scandal out there, and the coach got fired, and so the NCAA allowed people to transfer because they were going to be disciplined with no bowl games and a limited number of scholarships and so on. So they allowed people to transfer, and he was one that opted to transfer. He was a very, very highly recruited quarterback out of high school. So Auburn got a bonanza there, I think, with him, and other people that I talked to that watched him do something about him when he was in college and maybe even a little before said he's the real deal. And so I know that he's a good quarterback and can be much better. That's what I see in him, and I think he's in an ideal place. Let me tell you a crazy rumor that happened up, and I think it's somebody just spreading maybe not even a legitimate rumor, but the Texans now would trade Deshaun Watson to New England. That's absolutely crazy, I think. Yeah, but anyway, there are a lot of things around stories around Stidham, but I think Stidham sits right in there and becomes their starter and becomes successful in New England.
Coach, when you look at a guy, and I've heard that too as well, Deshaun Watson, I've even heard 2021 is when it's going to happen here. I think, though, personally, look, Jarrett Stidham is a guy that, once again, he just seems he doesn't absolutely blow you off the charts when you look at what he has, but we don't truly know what he has at the same time. Just because, look, I go back to it's like Justin Herbert, the NFL scouts saying we're not sure what his ceiling is because he really wasn't playing in the right offense for him. And so that's where you look at Jarrett Stidham. We saw him in the preseason, and he looked good in the preseason. So that's look here. The other thing, Coach, with this too, I understand the quarterback situation for the Patriots, but is the bigger problem everything else going on around him? Because if you put Stidham back there and you still don't have the receivers, you still don't have the help out there for him, you still don't have the tight end, you still don't have the offensive line, you're not really setting him up for success a whole lot. And I go back to this before, I don't want to knock the kid, but at the same time, if Tom Brady can't make it fully work, and we saw what Tom Brady was doing, everything he could out there, and still had some success, still led him to 11 wins right there, but I mean, is Stidham really? Are they really setting Stidham up for failure or success? I guess is what I'm trying to say, Coach. My thing, I go back to this. I understand quarterbacks. It's quarterbacks in the league. But I mean, is that the biggest problem right now for the Patriots, or should they be worrying about what are we going to do at wide receiver position in the offensive line?
Well, it's a good question, very good question, and they should be concerned about that and what they're going to do. I'm very interested to see how they try to work through this thing. But here's what they would do with Stidham. I think they would utilize Stidham's abilities in a way that would be unique to New England and Stidham. So they wouldn't ask him to do what Brady was asked to do, and they would come up with they're too good coaching, and schematically each week, game planning, and put it all together, and then utilize what Stidham does best. And they're going to be in there. They're just nobody's going to knock them out of the box. But it's going to be very, very difficult if they don't replace some of the deficiencies they have. And I just don't know how they're going to do that.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting, Coach, to see how this plays out for the Patriots. If anything, I think it's going to take a couple years here. I don't think look, I know, Coach, you're a Patriot fan, but you're a fan not of the team, of Bill Belichick and the way they run the system there. That's important to remind people that. Look, it's going to be tough. I think this is, for Patriot fans, this may be not necessarily a down year. I think they'll still have plenty of success, but not the Super Bowl year you're looking for. Who knows? That's the glory in all this. This is all hearsay. We're just putting out there what we believe. But nonetheless, Coach, we're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk some Florida Gators football. Got a couple things going on here. And Kyle Trask, speaking up, 1 year after he is officially the man now. Interesting to see what he's got to say. All that and more right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Pensacola is an amazing destination enjoyed by millions of people every year. High Point Hotel Corporation is proud to offer area visitors a place they can call home in Pensacola. Whether you're looking for a downtown property with space to work and play, a place to rest your head before your morning flight, or a large suite for an extended stay, High Point Hotel Corporation has a place for you in Pensacola. Visit us today at the Courtyard or Resident Inn by Marriott in downtown Pensacola, or the Hampton Inn, Homewood Suites, Hilton Garden Inn, or the new Residence Inn near the Pensacola Airport.
What's up, Chad here from the Sports Drive. Well, no sports to talk about. March Madness canceled, every major sport, so maybe you get to spend some more time around your family. Oh, what? Not supposed to touch anybody? Well, just go home and watch Price is Right. But if you are older, you have a better chance of getting it. Right, Mike Gundy? Oh, 40? You should be all right. And he won't be broadcasting sports, but one guy that feels the same way we all do with no sports, probably Joe Buck.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness.
Sports Drive 5 to 7 with no sports.
There's only one name in town when it comes to afternoon local sports talk. The Sports Drive with Chad Brilliante.
Some athletes don't want to be given... nobody does. Now, look, when you play with your pops as he gets older, one of the most embarrassing things, my daughter's 3, I just slam it right in her face right at the play school hoop. Like right there, like I'm Zion Williamson.
The games, the players, the fans. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You can watch Coach K talk football live right now on our YouTube channel at ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Monday afternoon. We hope everybody staying safe out there. We're talking some football with you. Coach, I want to get into a little Florida Gators. I know there's a lot of news going around. I know that there's something that, it's interesting that people bring up. It's almost like they're reaching for news at this point. But Kyle Trask has come out and just, nothing in particular, just talking about how much he appreciates being the Florida quarterback. Now, remember, this is a guy that stepped in last year when Felipe Franks went down, and for some people, you never like to see anybody get injured. But at the same time, people kind of thought when Franks went down is, well, this Trask guy maybe will be good. This guy's pretty good. We don't know much about him, and he wowed people. This is a guy that threw for almost 3,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. And in the Orange Bowl versus Virginia, he threw for over 300 yards. This is a guy that looks good. This is a guy for Dan Mullen. We know he does so well with quarterbacks. Of course, Kyle Trask coming out and saying, I remember staying up late to watch the national championship games and thinking, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to grow up. I did grow up watching Tebow like other kids. I had posters on the wall of Tebow and other players. When I got my offer to come here, it was a dream. Growing up in Texas, I always hoped I would play at my dream school in Florida. I really tried to take advantage of all the resources they give us. They'll do anything for us, and I can't thank them enough. He goes on also to say another special thing about the Swamp, and Coach, you can vouch for this as well, is the fans, how electric they get. They're a different breed. They're there every single Saturday, no matter what time we're playing. You can hear them roaring when we're in the locker room, and you run out. It's just an unbelievable experience. Coach, I mean, that's awesome. When you talk about Kyle Trask, what a great story. This is a guy that was a backup in high school to De'Aaron King, who's now, he went to Houston and transferred to Miami. But a guy that kind of came out of nowhere for some people, the people that knew him, that recruited him, obviously, which it wasn't Dan Mullen, but they knew he was good. And this is a guy that sat patiently and waited behind Felipe Franks. And that was such just a train wreck when you look at that whole up and down with Felipe Franks. That's the thing is, he was a peaks and valleys, is what you say, Coach. I take this from you, a peaks and valleys quarterback. You never know, because there was moments where he shined, and then moments where you kind of scratch your head and go, why? How did this guy get to Florida? Like, he's so talented, and then he turns around and makes such a bonehead play. Coach, when you look at Kyle Trask, though, I mean, how much do you like this guy? Is this a guy that you believe can take Florida to the next level? I mean, I know it's a team game here. There's a lot of things that have to go on. But is Kyle Trask a guy that you can trust moving forward?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Kyle Trask. I think he's really steadied that program down. As you say, they went from a peaks and valley type quarterback, which is very unstable and disconcerting for an offensive football team, including the offensive coaches. And so he's given them that stability now, and he's a sharp kid who works hard. I think he throws the ball exceptionally well. And I like him. I think he's going to give them a better chance this year, and also in a year where Georgia, I think, it could be a little down. I don't agree with the so-called experts who have put Georgia in the top 5. Certainly not in the top 3. I think you lose 4 out of 5 offensive linemen and a quarterback who's proven to be a winner. And you bring another quarterback in from another school. Maybe he's good, maybe he's not. It's like I used to say about potential. They say potentially he's a good quarterback. Well, potential doesn't do anything for you except get you beat, put you on the street. So I think Florida's got a chance to overtake Georgia this year. And I think clearly the best team in the country, I'm going to say this, is Clemson. But anyway, back to Trask. I think I think he's probably going to give them one of the best chances they've had to really return to what Gator fans want. I predict that will be the case.
Yeah, Coach, and we'll talk about Georgia in just a little bit here. Talking about Florida, though, I agree. Look, Trask was a bright spot for Florida. We know Florida has had one of the most talented rosters year in and year out, but it's been the quarterback position that's kind of, you scratch your head, and it's like Alabama with a kicker. How do you not go out and get one of the best kickers when you're one of the best teams? It's just tough sometimes, and quarterback is one of the toughest positions in general. I like what Dan Mullen's done. Coach, I think that with Florida, I want to talk about Dan Mullen because an SEC analyst placed him up there with Saban, Ed Kirby Smart, Ed Orgeron, and those guys. And that's what I want to get to and ask you here. Is Dan Mullen one of those guys yet? Because listen, I know that he came in and he's not won a conference or division championship. He won 10 games in year one after bringing them back from 4 games winning, and 11 games in year two. He hasn't got past those thresholds that are usually the top goals for any team in the Southeastern Conference at the beginning of the season. This is a guy I know it's tough because the SEC is one of the best. Like I said, when you're talking about Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, and Ed Orgeron, those are guys that, Ed Orgeron jumping onto the scene this year, but they're guys that continue to put out the best. Saban, of course, winning multiple national championships. Smart's won the SEC East 2 years. For Mullen, it's tough, Coach. My question, though, is when you look at these 3 guys here, is Mullen one of the top coaches, or does he have to beat like a Saban? Or does he have to win the SEC East and beat Georgia in order to put himself up there? Or is what he's done at Florida right now, building that program, done enough?
Let's hold the reins here just a minute on this. I like what Mullen has done. I think he's done an outstanding job. But you can't put him in the same category as Saban, and you can't either as Kirby Smart right now. I think Mullen will have his chances to get there. We'll see what happens. But you can't say that Mullen is on an equal par with Saban, not even near that right now. He's in a high category of coaches. I think a very high level coach, but it's a level below the top 2, maybe the top 2 or 3. He's like I think he's in the top 5, 6, 7 for sure. And he's a good football coach, and I think he's got a chance to prove it this year. And I'll tell you another thing too. We were just talking about Kyle Trask. But when the unfortunate situation came up last year and they had to go to Trask, there were a lot of naysayers out there that thought the sky was falling, that Trask was just a disaster and we'd never win a game with him as quarterback. And quite the opposite is true. And give Mullen a lot of credit, too.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was for a lot of people a disaster almost in Florida's mind, and for a lot of people, listen, we know there's a lot of fans that, especially if you're Florida State fans, you don't like Florida, and so when Franks went down, I scratched my head because I thought Franks was part of the problem in all this, but then again, we didn't know. We've seen teams that come in with backup quarterbacks that weren't much, but luckily Kyle Trask was awesome and he did a fantastic job. I agree with you, Coach. To put him in the upper echelon of guys and of Nick Saban is just insane because this is one of the best to ever do it in the history of college football. I don't care if Dan Mullen goes on and wins a national championship the next 2 or 3 years. You still don't put him in that reign. It's a different breed here. But for Dan Mullen, he's got to win the SEC East, I think, to even be considered in the upper echelon, necessarily to be considered with Kirby Smart and guys like that. We'll see if they can, move forward because, Coach, I know this was something you brought up to me as well. There's an article out that, Florida seems to hit a down year on year 3 with these coaches. Dan Mullen's had 2 good years bringing Florida back, but there's some people that are questioning because this has been something that has happened at Florida on year 3. Things kind of go downhill. My question to you, Coach, do you believe in any of this, or does this just seem like someone's reaching for almost a story at this point?
Your second choice. As somebody reaching for a story, my gosh, you can't This year looks like right now that it may be an uptick over two very good years that they've had down there. So I wouldn't buy that story at all. And I think Mullen will do an outstanding job.
Coach, I want to jump to Georgia real quick because it was interesting you brought Georgia up, and this is a team that, we've kind of expected them to win the East with what they've done, but this year's a little bit different. Now, they've got Jamie Newman, the transfer in from Wake Forest, and there's a lot of hype to be said with that. Mark Richt even come out and said, this guy's the real deal, watching him play. But here's the thing. This is the ticker in all this, Coach, when you look at it. They lost 4 of their 5 starting offensive linemen. Now, they've always had talented rosters there. No one is discrediting the talent they have, but it's a matter of putting things together. They lost so much. It's going to be interesting. Even DeAndre Swift's gone. So this is Jake Fromm's out. You look at the defense, a lot of those guys are gone. I know they have some of the defensive guys coming back, but nonetheless, this is the SEC. And so when you look at this, in the SEC, your one goal is to win the SEC. And, well, anything short of that, especially for a program like Georgia, is not acceptable. So when you look at this, there was a team that was picked to be the biggest upset in the SEC, and it was Georgia. And now with that being said, remember what I just said. If you don't win the SEC or you don't win your division, you're considered that's upsetting for a team like Georgia or a Florida or whatever because of your goals. It's a little bit different than if you're a Kentucky and you're happy to beat a team like Florida. Sorry, Kentucky fans out there. But, Coach, when you look at this, the difference here to me, and in the article as well, said this comes down to the spring practices because it's important for teams when you have all this talent coming in and we don't know what they have. Like for Florida, they have so many guys coming back. We know they had some good recruits, but their wide receiver depth is coming back. I mean, they're just loaded at wide receiver, even at running back, and the quarterback position settled up there, and their offensive line is doing pretty well. Most of those guys are coming back. So when you look at that, even if you have a shortened period, you understand the process here. For these guys like Georgia and Jamie Newman, Coach, I find it's going to be hard because no spring, it seems like right now. As of right now, we'll see what happens. But nonetheless, do you agree that Georgia could be kind of the bigger disappointment here and take a step back where Florida steps up just because of all the new pieces they have?
Yeah, I think that could be the case. And, Georgia is a great school. They've had a good program. I think they've got a much better program now with Kirby Smart, I have to say, and I think they've done a good job up there for a number of years. And I'm going back to Dooley. I mean, my gosh, I think Georgia's had some great teams up there. But I do think that this year represents a situation where Florida could get a little better and Georgia could maybe be just a little bit lacking what they've been in the past. So we'll see what happens, but I really think that could be the case.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I said, this is all hearsay, but one thing nobody's questioning is Georgia's talent on their roster. Kirby Smart has been a fantastic recruiter, but the one thing is he hasn't won the big game. That's the difference in all this. Listen, Coach, we're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to hear Dabo Swinney, not opposed to a summer minicamp, no surprise there, and we're going to talk about some of the NFL mock drafts coming out right now. All that and more right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley. That was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
JP here. At ESPN Pensacola, we are hometown proud. Like the greatest pound-for-pound boxer of all time, Roy Jones Jr.
Three-time light heavyweight world champion and former heavyweight champion of the world, future Hall of Fame legend, Roy Jones Jr.
What up? This is your boy Roy Jones Jr. and you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
Pensacola is an amazing destination enjoyed by millions of people every year. High Point Hotel Corporation is proud to offer area visitors a place they can call home in Pensacola. Whether you're looking for a downtown property with space to work and play, a place to rest your head before your morning flight, or a large suite for an extended stay, High Point Hotel Corporation has a place for you in Pensacola. Visit us today at the Courtyard or Resident Inn by Marriott in downtown Pensacola, or the Hampton Inn, Homewood Suites, Hilton Garden Inn, or the new Residence Inn near the Pensacola Airport.
JP here with Talk Football and the Sports Drive. This is a different time for all of us, and for some, it's extremely tough right now. All of us here at ESPN Pensacola want to send a shout out to all our first responders and healthcare workers right now. We appreciate all the work that you do day in and day out, but right now we know you are all working harder than ever to help all of us get through this to beat COVID-19. If you see someone or know someone who is a first responder or healthcare worker, don't shake their hand, but let them know you appreciate them. Remember, a kind word goes a long way.
You can watch Coach K talk football live right now on our YouTube channel at ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. On this Monday afternoon, we hope everybody is being safe out there, washing your hands, and practicing your social distancing. Look, Coach, I know this is a guy that we haven't heard a whole lot from. Clemson just been business as usual. Well, I say that, not as usual, I guess. But them, it's like you said earlier, this is a team we believe is the best team out there. They've been doing such a tremendous job. Dabo Swinney has turned that program around, and it's been so much fun to watch them. And not only watch them, but watch them put guys in the NFL as well that have success here. Coach, with everything going on right now, the big question is, well, how do these players, how do these coaches, how are they going to cope with this? What is when we get the chance to go back to play, how much time is needed and all this going on? Well, Dabo Swinney came out in a video. He was at with our Zoom meeting, an interview talked about kind of what he wasn't opposed to a mini summer camp. I guess if you would say it that way. Whatever you want to call it, he's not opposed to it, and we're going to listen too.
Are those the kinds of things you'd be in favor of?
Yeah, I'm open to whatever. I'm not really for extending camp. I don't like that idea of it. But I would love if and even if they said, okay, like a team like Clemson got 9 days, maybe if they just said, okay, everybody can have 12 on-field sessions, and so that means we would get only 3, just to make it equitable or whatever. But some of these schools who got none, they could get 12. But, no pads, no tackling or anything like that. But just to be able to get on the field and, teach your stuff and have some prep time. Football is very important. There's a reason why the NFL has OTAs and different phases before they get into camp. I don't think extending camp is the right approach. I think it would be better, in my opinion, if you just gave schools opportunities to go out and have some just on-field sessions. Like I said, no pads, etc. But be able to, do some installation, run some full speed stuff, good fundamentals, and teach what you want to do, just to kind of condition football condition wise, get them a little bit more prepared for camp. So I hope, I would love that. And also, or at a very minimum, be able to have good quality meetings or walkthroughs on the field. So I don't know where that's going to go, but I would definitely be in support of that for this extenuating circumstance.
Coach, when you hear that right there, now this is, of course, he's talking about not extending fall camp, but this is something to kind of prepare the players, because the players just can't jump out there. Now, we know the NCAA, they're not sure what changes they're going to have to make, but when you look at a mini summer camp or, whatever mini camp you want to talk about, when you look at that, maybe 12 times the guys go out there, walkthroughs, full speed, no pads. He made sure no pads in that. But do you agree with what Dabo Swinney's saying?
Yes, I do. I think that's a good idea. In fact, I think it's almost mandatory that you allow them to do that, because you've got to have um, some type in ability to get players back in the strenuous routine of football, and you don't have to do that by hitting every day, but there's certain drills that you can do, and the bags you can use, sleds and so on, that you did walk through with all of the your insertions and so on. I think that only makes sense. I think it's a good way to do it.
Yeah, I think it's important, and like we said, the NCAA, they haven't made any resignation of what they're going to do yet. It's still too early. They're still trying to figure out how the virus is going to affect things, how it's expanding, and what's going to happen and all this. But I agree, Coach. It's a good idea on his part. And with you've been there, you've coached, played at the highest level, everything. You've done just about. You've done it all, Coach, and you understand from all perspectives how important the training is. You can't take a guy out there and just expect him to run full speed. We're talking about in the middle of the heat and everything else. These guys also have to learn the playbooks. There's a lot of new guys coming in, new schemes, all that going into that. I think it's a good idea. Coach, I want to jump over to the mock drafts. Now, there's so many mock drafts out there, and it's interesting because for some of these mock drafts, Coach, I know that you've heard that the Dolphins are willing to trade up number 1 to get Joe Burrow. We're not sure what to make of that. I mean, I could see that because the Dolphins have 3 number 1 or first-round draft picks. They have 2 second-round draft picks. They have all the equity to be able to do that, but do they do that is my first question to you, Coach. When you look at Miami, would it be smart when you have 5 draft picks in the first 2 rounds to go revamp your team right here, and you could still get a guy in Tua, which it seems they have belief in. They may be more skeptical now just because they can't bring him in. But what makes more sense for Miami, I'll ask you on this, to trade up to get number 1 and lose possibly 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick, or to stay back and keep your picks and get Tua at maybe, number 5?
Well, it depends on how they have them rated. And we've talked about this a number of times. There's no axiom that if you like a quarterback, if he's your guy, then you go get him. You do whatever it takes to do that. So if they like Joe Burrow over Tua, then they need to do whatever they can within reason. But they've got a lot of equity there, and they can spend it, especially for a quarterback. So anyway, I think yes, they should do it. If he's clearly their choice, then they should go do it. They'll always regret it if they don't.
Coach, my next question, when you look at Joe Burrow and Tua, we both know when of course, Tua is healthy, how phenomenal he is. But the safer pick is no doubt Joe Burrow. Is that correct?
I would think so right now. Yeah, and I like Tua. Keep in mind that if he had no medical problems, I would think that they rate pretty much even. But you have to give the edge. You have to give the edge to Burrow here. Listen, the man just had the greatest year in the history of college football, 150 years, without question, and did it in a fashion that was there's no question it's not close. So I don't know how you could duplicate that. Now Tua is a very talented young man. There's no doubt about that. I think both are going to be outstanding quarterbacks in the National Football League.
Yeah, I agree, and Coach, we're both on that. Tua is a fantastic quarterback. I'm a huge fan of his. Not a fan of Alabama. I will make that known, but I love Tua and what he did and the way he played the game. It's awesome. I hope he gets back fully healthy. I hope everything works out. I hope he's in the league for 15 years. Coach, moving on to this though, here's the question. Now, number one, we didn't think there was speculation, but with Miami saying that they could possibly trade up, now we've got some speculation all the way through this draft. Number two, there was some speculation early on about the Washington Redskins taking Tua here, and there's still people that have him in their mock draft at number two. But with the Washington Redskins, Coach, bringing in Kyle Allen over there, I think that solidified their stance on their quarterback position. I don't think you bring in Kyle Allen when you have Dwayne Haskins there that you believe in, or you're going to try to make it work, and you're going to go get Tua as well. I find that almost laughable at this point, especially when you've got a guy in Chase Young, which everybody is saying is a once-in-a-lifetime talent. He's being said that he's being, I guess, trying to think of who. Anyway, compared to Hall of Famers, let's put it that way, just compared to Hall of Fame players and how dynamic this guy is and how dynamic he can change a game, when you look at the Washington Redskins, the whole Tua, Coach, is it laughable or is there some validity to this?
Everything I've heard from any number of sources is that Washington is going to draft Young. I think they've solidified their quarterback situation for the time being, and they're going to get that pass rusher. You know, the two players that you have to have, I think, to get consistently have a good football and be in contention, you've got to have a quarterback, and you've got to have a pass rusher. Now, when I say a pass rusher, I'm talking about a good one that can dominate a ball game, because a pass rusher can take over a game at times. And I think the guy they were talking about with Young is a guy I'm very familiar with, and Bruce Smith, who we drafted at Buffalo. And you just have to have one of those animals around. So I don't think there's any question. And if they trade out, even a trade is not realistic, because if they trade out of that spot, then they're going to lose Young. So I think they sit right there and take Young.
Yeah, I agree, Coach. Look, I get it, but with signing Kyle Allen, I think that's the there you go. That's the cap on that. We can move on. The Detroit Lions, Coach, it's still the same here. We believe they're in prime trading territory. Is that correct?
Oh, I think the Lions, that's what they are. They're just they're sitting there for a trade. Yeah, you got to be kidding now. They keep putting the corner with them. A third draft pick. No, that's not going to happen. There are too many other things on the board that would be more important to your football team. Not to mention a good trade that would give them maybe an additional starter to their rosters. So they're not gonna misplay that. It's trade all the way there.
Coach, dropping down here now, Miami, of course, Todd McShay has them taking Tua. That's yet to be seen, depending on if they're going to trade up or not. The bigger question here, number 6, the LA Chargers. Now, they've said Tyrod Taylor, they're not going out to get a veteran quarterback, even though Cam Newton is rumored to be, going there. There's no validity to that. We presume, just by them saying that, at least I presume, that they're going after a quarterback in the draft and a guy like Justin Herbert, which would, I think, work out pretty well for him. But nonetheless, Todd McShay, we know his Justin Herbert. He believes Jordan Love will be drafted ahead of Justin Herbert. Him and Kuiper have a $5,000 bet on that. But he has them taking Jedrick Wills Jr., an offensive tackle at Alabama, which they do need offensive line help. But, Coach, can you see the Chargers going anywhere other than quarterback? I mean, I know it can happen, but do you see them going quarterback or offensive tackle here?
You know, I think they can play the Tyrod Taylor card all they want to, but if they're anywhere near contention or being in contention for a playoff spot this year, they've got to adjust their quarterback situation, and I think they got to go get one. And whether it's Justin Herbert, I keep hearing that is route for them to go there and with the Chargers. And I had not heard that much about Cam Newton going out there, but that wouldn't be out of the question. So that could be one route they go as well. But I do think they will do something to address their quarterback situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, we're up against a break right now. When we come back, I want to break down a couple more interesting picks here from the Colts to the Patriots in the draft with Todd McShay, Coach. Listen, I know we're running out of time, but we got to get this break going. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K here on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, Highway 29 in Car City.
Pensacola is an amazing destination enjoyed by millions of people every year. High Point Hotel Corporation is proud to offer area visitors a place they can call home in Pensacola. Whether you're looking for a downtown property with space to work and play, a place to rest your head before your morning flight, or a large suite for an extended stay, High Point Hotel Corporation has a place for you in Pensacola. Visit us today at the Courtyard or Resident Inn by Marriott in downtown Pensacola, or the Hampton Inn, Homewood Suites, Hilton Garden Inn, or the new Residence Inn near the Pensacola Airport.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. A couple minutes left here, Coach. I wanted to get to this to have enough time. Look, Todd McShay, and it's interesting just because these are all mock drafts. Of course, we're not sure what they're going to do, but he has Justin Herbert going to the Colts here at number 13. Now, when you look at this, we know Jacoby Brissett is, whether they want to admit it or not, it doesn't seem like he's their guy. Of course, they brought in Phillip Rivers, but they need a long-term type guy to come in here. So when you see Justin Herbert going to number 13, does that make sense for the Colts, or do they need to address a wide receiver position or another position?
That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it could happen. I'm not saying it's totally out of the realm, but I think they've got their quarterback situation the way they want it right now. And especially with your number one draft pick, you need to bring something in that is going to improve the entire talent level of your football team, especially if you can get one in an area of need. Now, a receiver would be good, even though I think they haven't tapped the abilities of the young kid from Ohio State that ran the 4.3.
Paris Campbell.
Paris Campbell. But they could use somebody there. They could also any number of directions they could go. They've got a good offensive line, which is a real plus. And I think that's going to help Phillip Rivers quite a bit. So anyway, I would think they'll go either defense or with a receiver maybe.
And Coach, when you talk about the Colts here, this is a year where with getting Phillip Rivers, they want to win now. And this team, even though finishing 7-9 last year, this is a team that we believe can win that division. It's going to be tough, but they have all the pieces sitting there. Would you believe that the Colts could be the real deal this year?
I do. I think they could surprise some people. I really do. And, I thought this might be a landing place for Brady. But no, with Rivers there, I think they're going to surprise some people, and they could win it.
Well, we'll have to see, Coach. You know what that sound means? It is time for us to go. As of always, we always have so much to talk about, and we can't get to it all. But, Coach, it's been a pleasure, my friend.
You bet. Look forward to tomorrow, JB.
Absolutely. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K. Be sure to check out tomorrow, 12 o'clock, same time. We'll be here with you talking some football on ESPN Pensacola.
Go to the Sports Drive with Chad Brilliante. Plus, talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at